Good morning, guys. Hopefully, you guys are all doing well after that Chiefs victory going to the Super Bowl last night. I know everyone is excited as I am. We're going to talk a little bit of price action, having some trading view troubles this morning. I'm also going to be without face as I am feeling rough this morning because the heat in my home did not kick on overnight. So it's pretty cold. And I just got out of bed. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and talk about it. The move up was fairly. It was to be expected because there were some triggers that played out. So we will talk about that. These are things we've been going over, and then we'll probably take a look at both EXO and maybe even a little bit of ATAS because TradingView is lagging at the moment. So what that means for us is, well, we need real-time data to know what the actual price is, because if you were to look currently, the price of Bitcoin is actually 23,236.50, and this is showing us 23,170. So it is a few candles behind, unfortunately. But, nonetheless, we're going to go ahead and go on with the show and talk about everything that transpired. If you guys recall, we were talking about the previous week high, which is now the previous week high, if we're being fully transparent about it at this point. And they turn off the future pivots for a second. And this was our trigger that if we were to clear this level, well, obviously we have support here at the previous week open. You have support, September high, previous week high. Those are the three levels we're watching. You can see you've got a nice range here. If you clear this, we're expecting a push to where this box, which again has done me absolutely dirty, looking for 24K, and we got 23,967.50. So a nice $32.50 move. Football was getting underway, which for me as a Chiefs fan, I was looking for that game. And so I was not trading this. I made a point that I wasn't going to get in any positions, which in hindsight, I really wish I would have. I was really thinking we'd come up and at least tap this weekly in POC, but for all intents and purposes, I probably would consider this one now hit. It just, EXO showed 24K. So that's what we're working with. But, is this a death sentence to the rally? Not necessarily. Max will go over these lows here and the importance of them. We've kind of covered them in the past a little bit, but they're very, very relevant today. So we need to figure out what we need to be doing with our chart and also what we're doing this week. So this is kind of more of a broad overview for the week. That way we can get an idea of what we're doing trading wise. Obviously, you know what we're going to do. We're going to trade the range regardless. That's just how it's going to go. SPX has opened, and as I mentioned last night or yesterday afternoon in the group, you were looking at this as the overall reversal pattern, meaning that we're targeting X and B, right? So this little context for us. This is still resistance. This is the zone that has to be reclaimed. This is your yearly pivot, and you can see that you have kind of not gap down, but you've opened up on a low time frame gap into this support. So you want to see this holding. If lost, the most important area to hold is going to be right around 39.4906, mainly because that's your last local low on this little mini uptrend, so to speak. And if you were to lose that, you could look at this several different ways. You could say this is some form of a, like a channel like so. You could just very easily plot this as a channel, and it pans out really nicely and say, okay, if we lose that, we're coming down this channel, break that. Well, we would be looking down towards this region of the chart again. That's how I would be looking at the SPX. But, for me, I don't trade this asset. I just chart it for you guys. There are people that trade it, but I'm not one of those people. So I prefer Bitcoin and its volatility, and I think it's a little bit cleaner on the chart. So that said, I wanted to show you this. This is what we've been working off of. So I'm going to toot my own horn just a little bit. This is the channel that I've been posting on Twitter. I've covered it in the group. I've covered it in these live streams. This is just a channel showing us that if we're using this high right here, that this is the zone that we're in. And we've reached an area of resistance. This was the box, right? If you recall, we were looking at this weekly in POC here. You can see I've already got an alert set there, which I'm going to change this alert to the actual high now. And basically front ran our box by $30. But we knew this was resistance. Let's be very honest with ourselves in that regard and turn this back on. And I'm going to go ahead and include all this price action. And you can see we're at the value area high. So we're at fairly important support right here, right around 23K, which lines up nicely with, again, that 22,810 level, if you recall from this chart right here. So we're going to keep 22,810 for sure. We're going to have to move this weekly open, of course, because it's just not the weekly open anymore, right? So if we were looking for that, we are right here. And I believe that is your weekly open. Yeah, right there at 23,745. So previous week high also getting bumped a little bit, right here. And there you go. Actually, did this occur? Yeah, this did occur. This is technically the previous week high now. So we can get rid of this. Oh, it's going to be there no matter what. Anyways, moving on back to this. If you were to zoom into like the low time frame, and I did this on Twitter because kind of a, again, sometimes we have to pay our bills with clout, guys, not with actual trades. And look at the touch on that. That's just such a nice channel to get into. So really, really nice. Again, I always say this. Trading is not about perfection, because if you find yourself chasing perfection, like $24,000, for instance, little things like this can happen. So you just have to be ready to pull the trigger when it happens. And you could have easily set up for a swing fail right here, right? And you can see you got the perfect back test. You could have used this swing fail, whatever your trigger needed to be. And see how you got the low and then a back test. Either one of these highs would have been appropriate for setting up for some kind of a back test and swing fail for a short. I was not watching the order flow. I'll let Max go through that at the high there if there was an entry. I do remember him saying during our live, though, that the order flow on the way up, the volume was, I think you used the word atrocious, actually. So I would be curious to see what your thoughts are on the move down. But yeah, I would say just general, really basic stuff here. We're not going to reinvent the wheel today, but I would definitely want to hang on to this level. There are no real gaps to talk about other than the one way beneath us. And I bring that up because last night in the member stream, we were talking about how we could just wick into this box and then come down and fill that gap at like 23.3, which comes in on the CME chart, right? And we're going to look at DXY here in just a second. You had a small gap on the DXY when you opened, right? Here. And we'll go ahead and move this. It was right here. You came down, filled it. Now you're just kind of bouncing around in that area. I wouldn't put any weight on this being support or resistance, but this was your gap. So you've gone into resistance, which this did hit 24K because there's always a little bit of a premium. Down fills the gap. So the next question is, where do we go from there? We have some interesting areas on the chart, especially if we're looking for our weekly pivots, right? So I do believe did we leave last week's naked? We did barely. So we've got a few naked ones down here. So what this means for us as traders, we've been trending really hard. Okay. And I think that's obvious to anyone. You've been trending extremely hard. It's been a very big move up. You've now set in higher pivots and higher pivots. You're starting to do it on the monthly finally. Next month, in a few days, we'll be talking about that again. Now you're trending below them. And so, in the words of Max, if this starts breaking down, I think it can get out of hand fairly quickly. And I do think that this is going to be the landing zone still. But you've got this gap all the way down here. Am I saying price can't wick into that? Yeah, I would never say that. I just wouldn't prefer to go that low because I just don't think it would look as good. But, if price starts living back above, oh man, 23.4. I do like using that as a gauge still. It's the old previous week high. Kind of a redundant level for us, but we have to mark an area up here. I would say that this is still relevant enough to have on your chart, mainly because the weekly pivots come in here as well. So 23,400 for me is still going to be that level that if you're looking for upside, this is going to be the level to keep above. It keeps your higher lows intact, and that can give us another push into I wouldn't overlook the weekly open here, but you got the potential for at least trying to make a new high and come up to some of these regions at that time. However, the moment you start breaking down below, realistically this low, but we'll say 22,810, I think you've got a bigger correction on your hands at that time. So 22,810 is going to be the level for me. I'm going to be very conservative today with that, mainly because I haven't spent as much time on the chart. So I'm gonna make sure I give something that's a little more concrete that we know it would be pretty good. And yeah, 22,810 is lost. I mean, that's about right here, give or take. We'll make sure we put that on there exactly where it needs to be. start losing these levels here, you're really going to put some pressure onto these levels here. And then you, of course, have the all important 22,400 level just beneath you. So if you want to know if you're going to 22,400, I think at this point, 22,810 or even maybe 23,000, if you're super aggressive, is going to be the trigger. And then you're looking for this to make the move down into support. If that support gives, we've talked about losing these, that move can happen very quickly. So not something I'm necessarily looking for right now, just understanding the triggers that are in place. And I know that this is still resistance. So even if we get that secondary push up, I'm not looking to buy this level. I'm only intraday trading these if I'm getting involved personally. If it's my mindset on it. I'm still sitting in my long from 16.6. I'm not really putting on any new leverage positions outside of day trades personally. If we start pushing through this box though, that would be a different story. And we obviously have targets for that above us right here. And my timeline for this is a little bit different. Comes in more so right here, I believe. There we go. This was the timeline for it, which seems really close. But if you guys take a look, this is 3 weeks away. So this is 3 weeks worth of price action still that can be covered. So a pullback is not a death sentence by any means. However, if we lose the gap we were just talking about in 20,400, we were saying sub 20K. Look where that box is coming in at. It's the same box from the other chart, basically. You start losing this region of the chart, that's where this uptrend becomes a problem, because then you've taken out the last local consolidation low and you're now looking to form a lower low, lower high, lower low, right? But if it came down and did something like this, I would start looking at this as what kind of a giant structure are we going to get? Are we going to get a triangle? What are we going to get there? Maybe it's a flag. And I'd just start trading that range and do it neutral, very neutral, because I don't think that this is the high of the rally. But are we due for a pullback? We've been saying it for weeks. Everyone's going to keep saying it. It's kind of a meme at this point. So it's really all I've got on it. Kind of more of a just to get your head centered around what we're looking for the day. I think if you lose this, line right here at 22,810, you're back in the range. You've got a little bit of a gap here on the volume. We could start looking down to this area of support. I'm personally going to be targeting right around, I would say closer to 21,000, 20,900. But don't get ahead of yourself. You've got support here at 22,810. You've got support at 22,407. Trade these levels for what they are. But if we start losing them, we've got our targets to the downside for sure, and we can trade that accordingly. I'm going to turn it over to Max, let him get into the order flow, let him cover what he'd like to cover. And then I think CVO, he did not go live this morning, but he is going to do an evening live stream because we found that the time is good for those. So if you're interested in what he's got to say about some alts, that would be the time to catch him. And there we go. There's Litecoin, by the way. For everyone that wanted Litecoin, there's the box of doom and despair for Litecoin. It's kind of a big box, but it did hit. So enjoyable. Yeah, this way.
So while Magic was mentioning 20,900, there is a daily naked point of control in that region. So adds some weight to that region on the chart. So I'm going to be doing some zooming in and zooming out on this high that we've got. So I apologize in advance, but there's going to be a number of zoom ins and zoom out. I'll probably limit it to 2. But I just want to go over the move up and the high, because I can either gain clout from this or look an absolute tip, but I don't really mind either way. The move up, okay, you weren't taking any of the liquidity on the whole way up. None of these lows were taken at all on the whole way move up. So this is what leads to these fast moves down. When you're moving up and you're getting people buying, because we were certainly having people buying. If you're looking at the open interest, it's increasing. If you're looking at the delta, it's increasing pretty much the whole way with the move. So that means that buyers are coming in, consistently throughout this price, which, is to be expected. And they're putting the stop losses most likely below the lows. And then when you do start to get the move down, we mentioned this in the members stream last night, but it's going to be a fast move, because once it triggers, it's just going to be, a cascading domino effect of traders taking out their positions, their stop losses getting hit, their liquidations getting hit. And that's what causes these fast moves down. However, on this high, I want to go over it because I do not believe that this is the high that we're going to get. Granted, it obviously is the high for now, but I don't think this is going to be the high that causes a huge reaction. And the reason being is simply the volume, and there was nothing here to signal this is an important high that is now going to leave us this way for weeks. And look at it. The whole volume at the top here was absolutely abysmal. Okay, you've got volume going in this candle here, 22 million, and the volume going out 14 million. Okay, I'm going to go over some examples here to show you why the volume at the peak here was just abysmal. We go and look at other significant peaks. Where was the important high that we've swung fail? Well, it was here. Let's zoom in to look at the volume in this price. 29 million and 33 million in and 70 million, 29 million, 33 million, 37 million there, all in the candles around the high. Let's zoom into another one. I'll only do one more because I get it's rather annoying. But let's go down to when we had abysmal volume. In fact, let's just do up here because this was a weekend high, I believe. 21st, I believe, was a weekend. Yeah, so here. So zoom into this one. 31, 35, 10, 15, 14, 3.6, then 66 in the move away. It's huge volume. I think this was the weekend, actually. Let me just double check. 21, yes. So this was the high. Let's look at the volume here. On the peak, you've got 21 million. And you've got, a lot in the region, of course. But granted, it was low here. But, 21 million was the initial huge wick to then come down and take out the traders above that, and that was the volume spike to signal the reversal. There just wasn't the volume spike that one would expect on a significant high or low. So I really do not think this is the end for the trend. But I know Magic likes me to go over he mentioned I'll go over the lows and why they are significant. And, it comes down to the fact that we have got, not that one, these big single prints here. So it's a big inefficiency on the chart. If lost, there's not any support in this region. There's literally nothing to hold us up. Granted, you've got the highs from over here, so okay, you've got something in the middle of them somewhat. But ultimately, there's no traders in this region to hold the position if price was to come back to that entry, because it was pretty much all a liquidation run, a stop loss hunt of all the shorts that are built up in this section of the charts. So there's really no resistance in this area at all. So if we do lose this region on the charts, which is, let me zoom out, these lows here, and it doesn't get swung fail, it's going to be a fast move down is what we can expect. Granted, it's not going to be, I don't believe it would be a wick like this where you go straight down, but I don't feel like it'd have much resistance. It won't have much resistance when we come down here. But this one was strictly, liquidity getting tapped when you cause this great wick, this great two candles here that brought us down a couple of percentage. So I don't think it's going to be anything like that. But what could lead to a fast move like that is if it isn't swung fail and all the buys that have taken place up here, because there has been a lot of buys in this section of the chart. If you remember was it a week ago now? 22nd, yeah, just over a week ago, we were looking at these 2 days. I think it was a Sunday and a Monday, and we were just going over how much people were buying in this section of the charts. And granted, they've been given plenty of chances to take profits, but we all know what a lot of retail are like. They're like, I'm going to hold this bag; it's going to make me whatever. A lot of people don't like to sell; they like to fall in love with their positions and think of the Lamborghini that they're going to buy at the end of the month when it moons. So how many? It's a difficult one to debate how many people are still in these positions because they've been given options to take profits. But let's just theorize and say they haven't, and we don't get that swing failure pattern. Well, then you've got all the liquidity from these probably all setting a stop loss, liquidation point all here, and that could create another fast wick down, similar to the situation we've had here, but on a larger scale. So that's one of the reasons that you could get a very fast move down. But yeah, looking at the price and the fact we've had so many attempts up, you'd imagine that a majority of the people that have traded open positions back here have probably taken profits. So it does weaken the swing failure pattern somewhat. Doesn't mean we can't get it for a scalp, but given the time frame that it's on, it does, I would say, weaken it somewhat, but it is still there nevertheless. So, but it's not really a trade that we can say, it's definitely going to come. You have to wait and see at that point. Price right now, I have not. I've got a similar issue to Magic. I think everyone has with Bybit. But we've come down to the golden pocket if you pulled it from the low that we had the other day. So, it's an important level, this region. I do still think we're going to come down and test that level, which Magic mentioned, purely because anyone that was buying down here or up here and was very safe in their stop loss somewhat, they would put it in these regions below these lows. So it could offer us another trade here. Right now, in the bounce from the golden pocket, we are getting a lot of buying, but as you can see, price is retracing. So these people that have bought in these candles, and this is one of the good things about this type of software, is you can zoom in and see, okay, that is a large amount of people buying in this candle here. We've got 8.8 million positive DAOs there on 9 million open interest. So the aggressive buyers in this were buyers, but of course there is someone on the other end of them contract, and now they are going to be profiting from that somewhat. So you can kind of think, okay, the aggressive buyers that have probably seen the bounce from the golden pocket and have entered, all these people here, as you can see the green delta coming in as the move commenced. The lower we go, you can start to think about, well, where their stop loss is going to be, and that's why it adds more weight to this region on the charts. So I do think that this is going to be the next trade. I don't think that this is the one for, I don't think this current low is the one that we're going to have. I think it is going to come down a touch more and take out some of these traders, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the high. I'm really not. I do think it's going to get taken. But things to note as well, we do have some single prints for the day, which are always fun to trade. So they are coming in at 23,338 to 23,498. So, a rather important level to hold. Let me just mark out 23,308, see if we've got anything else there. It was 38. We've got the pivot in that region, and it comes up to that. Comes up to here. So you've got the pivot in that region. It'll be a interesting region on the charts if reclaimed, because then you would instantly expect it to come back up here. Reason being is, well, the similar thing to when you've got the move back here that we've boxed off. There's no positions here. It's just straight up traders getting taken out, causing the move. That was what caused this rise over here. It'll be a similar situation if we were to break back into these single prints here. You've just got to get there, and it's got to, whoever the market maker is in charge right now, has got to push the price into that section, and then continue moving up. But it's not going to be a fast move, because unlike this one, where you can see the traders getting all their positions building up, this is straight people getting taken out. So you're not going to get a fast move up through it. You probably can, but you most likely won't. It's going to be another long drag up while people build positions on either side, and that's why I think right now this isn't the low, because whoever is building the position, I don't believe is fully done with it. Because if you look at the delta, the negative delta here, it's not overly significant to a point where I think whoever is building a position, if the market makers want to be building along, I don't believe that they have done enough here to facilitate that long. I want to see some positions changing hands is what I'm asking for, and we've yet to really see it. So I don't think this is the high for now. I think we come down a little bit more, but yeah, in summary, just not a fan of that high. But yeah, I'm pretty much done Magic. Not got too much else to mention. I think it's just talking about
yeah, a little bit. I was struggling to get unmuted because I have a couple tabs open.
All good.
I don't really have much else to do or say, I guess, because there's not a lot to say. We know the most important levels locally. I like that you've dove into the high, because I want to see the box that I've put on the chart actually get hit. Being front run by like $30 is never fun. So yeah, not too much there. I'm going to put out a couple static videos today. I promised a guy from Sin City Crypto, Redman, that that I would put out some risk management style videos going over like how to calculate position size, how to use leverage appropriately, because, I don't want people just using leverage and not knowing what they're doing. So that'll probably be my focus. The goal is, probably 1 to 2 videos a day this week. CVO is going to go live in the evening to cover some altcoins. I might do a little bit of an altcoin rundown as well in some of my videos, just to kind of make sure that we're covering those bases and go over them, especially if you attended this week's live. Yeah, otherwise, guys, if you have questions, you know what to do. Comment down below on the video or shoot us a message on Discord if you're in there, or put it in the public chat or members chat, whichever side of the coin you're on there. And go Chiefs, right? 2 weeks from now, we're gonna have a new Super Bowl champion. Let's go Chiefs. And we'll catch you guys later on. I think CVO will catch you this evening. Max and myself will catch you tomorrow morning.